For this assignment, you are going to be actually reading a clinical study or a research study to help you be able to know how you analyze and evaluate an actual study for credibility. So what I've done is this is the assignment page, and you are going to answer these 6 questions, and you're going to answer these questions after you read all about the clinical study called the Elephant Man Trial. So you're going to want to click here to get to the content page. And then when you get to this page, you will see my introduction of the Elephant Man Trial. And then if you scroll down, you will see the 2 articles that you want to read. And then you'll see an actual few-minute video that reenacts some of what happened in the emergency room during this study. You won't be able to answer the questions until you actually read these articles. So when we're looking at this, we have to make sure that we understand what studies are. Controlled studies, remember, are methods that are used to compare a group of subjects. You will want to make sure that you have gone through the slide deck and really learned about what goes into a controlled study. So you'll want to refer to all the slides that have to do with controlled studies. Then you're going to want to spend your time with these bullet points right here to be able to answer the questions on the next page for the assignment. So when you're looking for a study and wanting to know whether it's credible, valid, and reliable, you need to ask yourself these types of questions. 1, when you read these articles and watch the video, what was the characteristic of interest? And were the participants who were part of this study clearly defined in terms of the research question? Meaning, did the people in the study know what they were getting into and why? So in your head, you'll answer yes or no. Then you'll look at the sample size. Was the amount of participants in this study large enough for the researchers to claim what they're claiming to be true? Yes or no. Was the target population the right target population? Meaning, were the correct individuals selected for this particular study? Did they pick the right types of people to be part of this study? Then you want to look at whether or not the study was random. Were the participants who were selected to be in the study chose randomly? And then you want to look at how long the study lasted. Was the study long enough to be able to prove the results to be clearly defined and accurate? Was there a control and experimental group? Meaning that did we have the experimental group, which were the people who did not know what they were receiving? And then they also have the people who were in the experimental group who did actually receive the drug. And the control group, of course, would either have no treatment or a placebo. Was the study blind or double blind? Meaning that the participants didn't know who was getting what. What were the methods? Were they included? What was the amount of the drug that was given to the participants? What was that dosage amount? What was the intervals of the drug? Was there any concerns with these methods, or were they accurate? And then once you've evaluated the methods, you'll know whether the data was clearly defined and accurate based upon how the methods were. Was there duplication of the study? And was there any potential bias on the researchers? Were they trying to get to a specific outcome? So as you go through this criteria, if you see that you have a lot of yeses as you go through each one of these, then that means the study was credible, it was valid, and reliable. However, if you go through the same criteria after you've read the articles and you find that there's a lot of no's to these, then you know the study is not so credible, it's not completely valid, and it's not reliable. And then you have to explain why, using this criteria to help you get to that point. So when you get to the questions, this is what you'll do for the first question. You're going to use those bullet points that I just went through to tell me all the concerns that surrounded the Elephant Man trial. So everywhere that you got no's, you're going to want to explain that here. So your number 1 question, your answer is going to be pretty long because you've got to go through all of the criteria and give me all the concerns. Once you've been able to determine the concerns of the study, you'll be able to answer number 2, which is telling me whether or not the study justifies the argument. What I'm asking you here is there's an argument in this study. They're trying to prove that this drug will work. So if what they're trying to prove, does this study justify that? So to figure out that answer, you have to look at the concerns. If there's lots of concerns, then the study will not justify the argument, but you have to explain why. If there are no concerns, then it will justify the argument. Number 3, you're going to want to make sure you refer back to the slide deck for inductive reasoning, because I want you to look at the impact of this trial, the Elephant Man trial, and I want you to make a generalization about this study. What is a generalization that you can conclude that you could make using inductive reasoning about the results of this trial? Then the second part of this is you have to be able to explain how you applied inductive reasoning. So I'm looking for you to explain how you got to that generalization by using inductive reasoning. Go back to what inductive reasoning means in the slide deck to help you with that question. Question 4, you're going to be giving me an explanation. This is no right or wrong answer. It's what you personally think about what information needs to be disclosed to participants when you're entering into studies. For number 5, you're going to want to read towards the bottom of the first article that I give you to look for any kind of medical advancements that resulted as a result of the end of this study coming to fruition. And then the last question, I want you to think of what the IRB, the people who have to look at studies before you're able to actually conduct them, what kinds of flaws should the IRB should have found before the study was live? So to help you figure out question 6, you can go back to look at what the concerns were, because the concerns from question 1 will help you with question 6.